told me, he said everybody's entitled to a bail according to their livelihood, right? Regardless what the crime is.
Everybody want the full Saturday party.
Yo, welcome to the AMF Show.
Now everybody want the full Saturday party.
On Bars and Hoops Radio.
Now everybody want the full Saturday party.
Yo, every Thursday night, without a
Now
doubt.
everybody want the full Saturday party.
With our special guests, so check us out. Peace, everybody. Welcome to the AMF Show. I'm one of your hosts, Big Ra, one half of the Almighty Force Brothers. I'm here with my man,
Kev Young.
All right, the street ball legend, Kev Young, in the building. Tonight, we have a special guest. He's the executive director of the Families and Friends of the Wrongfully Convicted. Introduce yourself, my brother.
My full name is Kevin Renny Smith, but everybody call me Renny, my middle name.
All right. And we going to chop it up with Renny, and you know, he's going to tell us about things that his organization is doing, and you know, we have a lot of information for y'all tonight. All right. This is something, you know, a little different from what we regularly do, you know, with the artists or the ball players, but you know, this is something important to do. All right. But before we get into Renny's story, you know, the D League, the kids in the D League, they got their uniforms last week. They're going to start playing next week, the 26th, on 121 Rockaway Boulevard. So if, you know, you're not doing nothing on a Saturday afternoon, go and check out the little babies playing ball. All right. Right now, you know, the traveling team is traveling throughout the city. You know, Queens, Brooklyn, involved in tournaments. I believe it's the 12 and under and the 14 and under. I believe a 10 and under team is playing also. All right. You know, gotta give a shout out to Brooklyn. Gotta shout Brooklyn out because y'all did your thing in honor of my man Greg Washington last week over there at the Betty Shabazz School over there on Pickett Avenue. You know, much love was showed. You know, I went out there. I got to see a lot of brothers that I haven't seen in a while, and the way Glenn McMillan and all the brothers from Brooklyn, the way y'all sent the brother off, you know, it was much love out there. All right, shout out to the Bars and Hoops family, shout out to the AMF family, shout out to my brother Big Shy. All right, so my brother Renny, if you could describe yourself in one word, what would that one word be? And why would you say that?
I would have to say that I'm blessed.
Okay.
That would be my one word. Because God, when he waking me up every morning, he give me another chance to get right what I couldn't get right yesterday.
Okay.
So I'm blessed in that. You know, when I look back over my life and see where I was at yesterday and what I looked like yesterday, and I compare it to where I'm at today, I said that was only by God's doing. So I'm blessed.
Okay. So, you know, let's get into, you know, the organization. So the organization is Family and Friends of the Wrongfully Convicted. So, and you're the executive director.
That's correct.
All right. So, you know, what led you there? All right. First, tell about what the organization does, and then just say what led you to leading this.
Well, I served 27 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit. I was released from prison in 2012. And I ran into a brother by the name of Derek Hamilton. Everybody know him as Bush, downtown. And he asked me to come aboard with him. I told him, yeah, in passing. I really had no intention on doing it. You know, although I'm a man of my word, right? However, God planted Derek back in my life 6 months later, right downtown Brooklyn again. And he said, Renny, man, you know, I thought you said you was going to come with me. And it was at that time that I made a committed effort to come aboard, you know, and help him build up this organization. And he's the CEO. His wife, Nicole Hamilton, is the CEO. And Lonnie Sorry is also the CEO, and they're appointing me as the executive director. They said, we believe that you can handle this position. So from that day on in 2013, when I took on that role and we began to build it up, and in 2014, we had our first rally, or I was involved with my first rally, and it was when we demanded that Ken Thompson, the former DA of Brooklyn, he was moving too slow with exonerating people in Brooklyn. So we had a rally against him. He sent word back, tell him, man, I just came in office, give me some time. I got to, restructure a conviction review unit. At that time it was just called conviction integrity unit, something like that. They had 2 DAs and they was on 2 different floors, right? So right after that, maybe 4 months after that, he started exonerating people based upon the rally he had and everything. That was like 14. He have 16 to this date. But to the present date, we have 26 exonerations that we help people get out, right? A lot of times we don't have enough evidence to get people out of prison. So what we do is based upon our integrity, our credibility, we go to the county DA and we say, listen, man, we ask that you modify this guy's sentence or this girl's sentence. They've been in jail over 30 years. They was 18, 19 years old. They came to prison. They don't understand what consequences look like, because when you're young like that, the brain don't understand consequences.
You're not even developed
yet. So we explain,
right?
Ain't developed. So we explain all that to them. We say they have a record of rehabilitation that they established in prison, and we getting behind them. We believe they're a good fit. And to the present day, we have 5 modifications that we got out. You know what I'm saying? Individuals that had a long sentence time. And also we deal with clemency. We work on individuals' clemency and help them get out through that way. And we got 3 people that we got out through clemency. We provide support groups. Derek Hamilton's wife, Nicole, she's very instrumental in that. There's particularly a lot of women in there, who have husbands and sons and brothers in prison, and they part of the support group. And she shared with them some of the things that she was doing when her husband was in there, and some of the things that they should be doing to help get their husband out. And that's what they do. She's very instrumental in that area. And we have a quarterly van service where we allow the mothers, the wives, and all of them to go visit their incarcerated loved ones. We do that every 90 days. And sometimes, being that, it's not a lot of them, we open the door up for other people who have people in prison. And we open the door up and allow them to come up there, and we don't charge them nothing. And we provide packages for them to take some of that load off them when they go up there to visit their loved one, because we know what it is with a struggle, and strain that they have. Because when you put a person in prison, particularly the man who's the breadwinner, you breaking that entire family down, wrongful conviction with crime he didn't commit. Mm-hmm. So we know that, we identify with them elements, and, we just try to work and close them gaps and help them out as much as we can, and be there. We have a assessment process where we allow individuals who tell us that they innocent. We allow them to fill out our intake questionnaire form, and we send it, and they send it in to them. And I mainly do the assessment part, and I look at and identify any areas of wrongful convictions. A lot of times individuals could be guilty, but they could be wrongfully convicted because it's 2 different things.
So you got law. You got some law in your background.
Yeah, I got some law. Yeah, I'm a paralegal. But a lot of people don't know that, so we explain to them the differences and everything. We outline that to them in the applications, and I look at it a lot of times, and and sometimes I identify some areas of some wrongdoing in the cases, but we don't have the necessary resources at that time to take on it, because you need lawyers, you need experts, you need investigators,
money.
Yeah, you need money. So a lot of time it's not in place at that time, and we tell them not right now. It hurts us. But we had got a guy out in Louisiana by the name of Vincent Simmons. I always like to mention him. Vincent Simmons was sentenced to 100 years to life for he was falsely arrested and wrongfully convicted for raping 2 white girls who was twins in 1977, right? I learned about a hymen from that case. I didn't know what a hymen was. But one of the twins had a hymen intact, showed that she wasn't even touched. The other one was having sex with her cousin, and they got into an altercation in the back of the car where she didn't want to have sex with him. She scratched him. He scratched her. When she went home, her mother seen the scratch and asked her what happened. She said, a black man did this to me, 1977.
I knew that was going to happen.
So they rolled around. I don't know if Vincent Simmons was the first black man they seen, but they snatched him up for the crime. The twins said it was him, right?
Wow.
When Vincent Simmons was placed in a lineup, he was in handcuffs, the only one in handcuffs. When he came out of the lineup, the sheriff shot him in the stomach. They claimed that he was trying to escape, right?
And where was this in?
In Louisiana. He served 44 years in prison. The lawyer that worked with us, wife told him, she seen the case, and she said, honey, I think this is something you should work on, right? They God-fearing people, and he got involved, and we went down there, investigating the case, and the cousin, who's older now, he called a lawyer, but he didn't answer. He left a threat message on his voicemail. He listened to it. He said, you ends, I don't even like to use the word. He said, you ends better get down and better get out of here. So we killed all of y'all, right? So I wasn't scared. We wasn't alarmed. What's going to happen. I'm God-fearing man. So we continued to push. So Justin gathered all the evidence, right? And he even talked to the aunt who told us that there was a cousin she was having sex with. So we presented all the evidence to the judge to show that no DNA was taken, the lineup was flawed. We pointed all that out to show that he was innocent. So the judge agreed. However, he told Justin, I will let Vincent Simmons out tomorrow if he signed, registered as a sex offender. So Justice told him, why would you do that if we got evidence saying he's innocent?
Right. So
Justin had to go back and tell Vincent Simmons, to his cell and tell him. So he said, I got some good news, bad news. Which one you want first? And he told Vincent Simmons, you can get out tomorrow, Vincent, but you got to sign up as a Vincent Simmons slammed his cell gate, said, I'm not signing up. And that was 44 years he had the time in prison. So we strategized and looked at some of the ways we could help this man. Now, mind you, if we was in New York City, we could have got droves of people to come down to them courthouses, to them district attorney's offices. The man has been released. Right. We in Louisiana, we don't have a strong hold down there.
Yeah, it's a different country down there.
So we decided to get CBS involved. CBS got involved and did a whole story on Vincent Simmons. Next thing you know.
CBS?
Yeah, CBS. Okay. Vincent Simmons, and he got released. He got released based upon that. And since we got Simmons released, we get letters from people all over the country asking for help now. I got tons of letters. We got tons of letters in our office. People saying, "Yo, I'm wrongfully convicted. Yo, I'm innocent." So we get since that happened. We get tons of letters from people all over the country.
Damn, you like a detective, lawyer.
Yeah.
Something else, because you got to read this stuff and determine whether you should take it on or not. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah, I read the intake questionnaire because I got experience. I know how to identify, the contributing factors that leads to wrongful convictions. There's 7 of them. You know what I'm saying? So I know how to identify them all. The leading to misidentification and forced confession. So those are leading to that people go to prison for.
So you said forced confession?
Yeah, forced confessions. Example of I don't like the Zonnery 5.
Right,
the brothers that was
Central Park 5.
Yeah, that's a prime example. How they manipulated them and got all of them to make false confessions.
Right.
So those are and misidentification is this. I always like to use an example that if someone was robbed for $300 and they brought him to the precinct, right? And the police officer showed him a mugshot, either with about 6 fillers in it, and my picture is there.
Right.
And they asked the victim, "Do you see anybody in there?" And they say no, but my picture is in there, right? 2 weeks go by, the police call the victim and said, "Listen, we believe we got the person who robbed you down in the precinct. We would like for you to come and pick out in the lineup." When they get down there, I'm one of the persons in the lineup.
Right. Now,
mind you, the police tell her, we want to make sure when you go in there and you look closely, So now when they open the window and she sees me.
Right.
Now, what do you think she's gonna do?
Right. She's gonna say,
because 2 things happen. Remember, 3 things really. She just seen me in the mugshot.
Yeah.
Right.
He told her, we believe we got the guy who robbed you. And then he's telling her to look closely. That's suggestive. So when I think in 2015, we had a meeting with the deputy commissioner and we asked him to implement some policies that could stop wrongful conviction tomorrow. We told him to put cameras in every interrogation room.
All right, the deputy commissioner of NYPD?
The black guy, yeah.
Okay.
His name has escaped me right now.
Okay.
We told him to put cameras in every interrogation room. So this way, when somebody walk in the room, you cut the camera on. And when they walk out, you cut the cameras off. And then we know what the person said, right?
Y'all started that.
Right, yeah, we started
Y'all started that.
Yeah,
that's in every show now. I watched the first 48.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's all you see. You
And
know,
the other one is identification. We asked for a double blind lineup. What is a double blind lineup, Renny? A double blind lineup is the police officer who's administrating the lineup. He don't even know the suspect.
All
Like
right.
I said, a lot of times police officers manipulate victims solely
Okay.
to get arrest
good move,
and
yo.
later to get a wrongful conviction. So
Okay.
those are two ways you could stop it. So they did some pilot programs and everything, right? Then they said they had to stop it funding, you know. So those are some of the things that we work on. We work on a lot of laws too. We had a lot of laws changed that we was very instrumental in getting them. Now, right now, we're working on the Wrongful Conviction Act.
Okay.
You know, this would be a gateway for people in New York State prisons to challenge their wrongful conviction. They're innocent. Because right now, example, like with me a few years ago, I presented some evidence to the criminal court identifying my innocence. They told me I took too long bringing it.
Okay.
Procedurally barred, they called me. They ain't even ruled on the merits and denied my motion. So, you know, we trying to change them. You know what I'm saying? So that
Right.
just keep people in prison. We just trying to change it. You know, we operating from our lived experience.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, Jessica? LM, John Perry, what's going on? Our phone number is 516-206-0711. Give us a call in.
Okay.
Do you work on like let's say you do get them out? I feel the state owes them. Do they get money? Do they get paid like when they come back out? Because they was wrongly convicted, man. They ruined their life.
If someone is exonerated being the judgment was vacated and the indictment was dismissed. That's an exoneration. Once that happens, that opens the door up for a lawsuit. At that time, the individual can be compensated. We help them and provide them with lawyers as well with that. Yep, we help them in them areas too. We want to walk them through the whole process. And not only when they release, we provide them with housing. We learned years ago, we got a guy out, right? But we didn't know about this at the time. When he came home, he had no place to live.
Okay.
So we had to take money out of our pocket and give it to him and his
up.
wife to get in a hotel. And then we had to take him to a loan company to get him immediate loan into a lawsuit. So we said, oh, wow, we need housing for these guys.
Okay.
So we just try to close every gap in this area and try to help people when they get out, you know, housing, mental health. We just got a guy out last year. He had a mental problem. We didn't know that he did 16 years in prison. He had a serious mental problem. We had no knowledge of it. Because when you get exonerated, you go home through the courts. You don't go home through prison. So you don't get no medical records, right? So when he got out, maybe I say about 6 months, he's doing good. He had a breakdown because he wasn't getting his medication. He take medication that could contain him for 30 days. But he don't come home with the medication. He had a serious breakdown. Went under the car, saying they trying to kill me and everything.
Damn.
And so we had to like really do some stuff. So we learned that when we get individuals out through exoneration, we know they're going to exonerate somebody. We tell the district attorney in that county to tell docs to turn over all his medical records to us.
Okay.
So we can know everything that's wrong with these people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Again, we want to close all these gaps. So we learning as we go along.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So you got to get like a power of attorney. I'm sorry, because I work in a hospital and I know how hard it is to get somebody else.
But the DA could get these documents and bring them down, and when he's released to the court, they could turn it right over to him, to his lawyer, whatever. So now when he home, he got these documents. We know how to help him through this process. People got mental problems. They have medical issues. You know, we don't really know because we don't have their medical records. And if, you know, they don't share it with us, we don't know. So we learn from that one individual. That's a gap we have to close too.
And then and with the housing, but how do you do that? Because I used to work in city government and we dealt with housing people. So how did you all go about like showing somebody have housing once they come out? How did y'all do that?
Well, we outsource and we reach out to various transitional housing that we know prior to getting out. We said we believe we have an individual who's getting ready to get exonerated in the next 60, 90 days, 30 days. Can you hold them a bed? Can you hold a bed for us? So we already have that connect right now. So let's say like right now we got maybe 2-3 beds preserved for exonerations in certain transitional places, right?
Right.
But let's just say we don't have nobody being exonerated, but somebody may call and say, yo, Renny, man, you know, a friend of mine, a brother of mine is getting ready to get released from prison. Do you have any housing? Because we got 3 beds or 2 beds reserved, we say, yeah, we got a bed for you. But we have that connect. You know what I'm saying? And we try to make it a smooth transition. Again, because when you get exonerated, you leave through the courts. You don't leave through docs. So you don't have a lot of your paperwork with you. So you need help. You know, unfortunately, they don't have nothing set up for you to re-enter back into society.
Wow.
Okay.
So there's a lot of
So-
logistics into this. Like,
Yeah, it's a lot.
of little.
Yeah, because you got to mind, fool, that you're going to prison for something you ain't do, right? Now, when everything turns around and they realize that the errors and the flaws that was made, they release you. But when they release you, you going back out there to nothing.
With
If you don't have no
right.
family waiting for you,
Right.
it's hard.
Right. So with you, you know, if you don't mind talking
Mhm.
about it. So how did that happen with you?
Mm.
Being wrongfully convicted?
I have no problem talking about it.
Okay.
And I love to. What happened with me is that in 1984, an individual by the name of Gary Van Dorn was shot and killed in Beverly-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn.
Okay.
Right? I didn't know Gary Van Dorn, may he rest in peace. I had nothing to do with this. I was interviewed in 2022 about this because they investigated my case and they asked me why would they name me, right? And I told them I've been saying that, asking myself that for the last 3 decades. I can't answer that question.
Mhm.
Only thing I know is I ain't had nothing to do with this, right? So I didn't know it then like I know it now, that the sole witness in this case, his first statement, he didn't name nobody as a suspect when he was first interviewed.
Right.
The next day he was taken to the precinct, but this time he's with 2 other individuals that do know me.
Right.
Now, best police practice states that when you take individuals to the precinct, you're supposed to separate them. You're not supposed to keep them together. Why, Renny? Because they could influence each other.
Right.
So that's when he made a statement and implicated me in this crime. That's his second statement, right? So now, later on that day, he's interviewed by the DA. The DA makes an audio statement. Now, in the audio, he's naming me as Remy as opposed to Renny. Everybody know my name is Renny, right?
Right.
So I didn't have the tape at trial. They asked him, do you know him? He said, maybe, yes, all this stuff. They didn't turn over that tape, right? So I get arrested for the case, like I told you earlier. When I get arrested, I get no bail, right? I'm just going to sidetrack real fast.
Okay.
When the prison guards, when they was accused of this crime, we went up there and pressured the DA to arrest these guys. He
Right.
told us that he can't arrest them until he get the autopsy report to determine that, you know, how the homicide, whether it's homicide, right? I said the videotape is evident that they assaulted him.
Right.
Arrest them for assault
Right.
and upgrade the charges later. They didn't do that. The point I'm making is when I was arrested, the judge gave me no bail. He didn't say I got to wait till the autopsy report come back to determine whether this dude, how the man is due. That didn't happen to me.
Right.
Okay. I'm laying up in Rikers Island for 22 months. I got a private lawyer. I don't have no knowledge of the law. So I'm relying on my lawyer because I'm paying him to take care of this for me.
Right.
Again, 22 months come up. I go to court. My mother, may she rest in peace, she's sitting in the courtroom at that time and she's pointing to me, but I don't know what she's pointing at, but she looked a little frightened when I look back. But she was pointing to let me know the jury is back there. So they called the jury out. All this was a pre-plan. They called the jury out to let me see the jury. The jury go back in. Then the witness, he comes through a side door. So my back is to the side door. So the judge make there's a expression only for me to look back. When I look back, they want me to see the witness, who I don't know, right? He said, get him out of here, get him out of here. That same day, they offered me 15 to life. I didn't know all that was designed to try to scare me, to try to get me to cop out. I didn't know it, but I didn't take 15 to life. I said, I'm not copping out to something I didn't do. The next day, I come to court. My lawyer tell me they're releasing me on my own recognizance. I'm happy. I don't say the words like I said it now. I said, wow, everything is unfolding. Everything is coming to, coming to. The truth is coming to me. So they released me, but I didn't know at that time that they locked the witness up because the witness went in the judge's chambers in my absence and told them on record that he don't know me, I didn't kill his cousin, and he didn't see me on the night of the crime.
Okay.
That's why they released me. I don't have no other evidence linking me to this crime.
Right.
Because he made that statement, they get him for perjury. That was pre-designed with the prosecutor. The prosecutor knew the witness ain't want to testify, so he told the court that his witness is being threatened by me. And he needed to have a hearing to determine whether or not he was being threatened. Now, I'm in Rikers Island, mind you, 22 months, but I'm going to be accused of threatening this guy, right? So the sole purpose of the hearing was to determine whether the witness was being threatened. But when they get the witness in the hearing, The prosecutor don't ask him one question about threats. He goes right into the night of the crime, knowing that the witness is going to say he don't know me, knowing that the witness is going to say I didn't kill his cousin, knowing the witness is going to say he didn't see me in the crime. Once he says that, that opened the door up for a perjury, right? So now when they release me, the prosecutor lies to the court and said that the witness is going to be released. He got a fine to pay in criminal court. He's going to be released. That was a lie. As soon as he went to the back door in the judge's chambers, the detectives are there and arrested him for perjury. Told him we're going to give you 7 years now if you don't change your testimony. Take him to the 81st precinct, keeps him there for 5 days. Every day they come in there. They telling him, if you don't testify, we're going to give you this homicide. If you don't testify, Renny going to kill you when he get out. He was deprived of a phone call to speak to his lawyer and family. He was deprived of hot food to brush his teeth, no change of clothes, set like that for 5 days now. On the 5th day of not being able to take it no more, he said, I'll do whatever y'all want. Get me out this hole, right? Unfortunately for me, when they released me, it was a Friday. Monday was Labor Day. So the DA got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday to coerce this guy and work on him, right? I don't know it at the time. I come back to court Tuesday because my lawyer told me I'm coming back to court on Tuesday to get the case dismissed. When I come back, I wait in the courtroom all day. At 5 o'clock, the judge called the jury and said, yo, we starting a trial tomorrow, which was Wednesday. I come to court Wednesday. Now, mind you, I'm in the streets. Right. I'm coming to court every day from the streets. I'm just trying to get this resolved, get this over with so I can move on my life.
Right.
I come to court Wednesday. They have a mini-way hearing. The guy gets on the stand and say he knows me for 6 months, right? And that I was the guy who killed his cousin. Now I'm arrested with somebody else. So he identified both of us at the time, saying he know both of us for 6 months, right? So the DA tried to get me remanded back into Department of Correction because of his testimony. The judge says no, right? The next day we go to trial, Thursday. You know, the trial was a short trial. I'm with my mother, lunchtime, during recess. I see the judge in the streets. My mother go to him, talking to him because she frightful. I'm my son. I said, Mom, you're pulling. Mom, don't say nothing to the man, you know. But she's scared. She worried, hoping. The judge told her, we got to leave everything up to the jury. He see me in the streets, see me everything. He let me go. I'm going to court and never forget it. He gets on the stand and says he known me for a year now, right? He says the only reason why I testified against Renny because they told me if I didn't testify, they was going to give me 7 years in prison, right?
He said that in court?
All that. Yeah, my lawyer brought all that out, right? Didn't you say on Friday that Renny didn't do it? Didn't you say you didn't see him this night? Yeah, and all this, right? He flip-flopped with his testimony, right? I will never forget this. This was the darkest day of my life to this point. The jury found me guilty based upon his evidence, his testimony alone. I couldn't believe it. They remand me back into the system, right? Because I'm found guilty. I'm getting chills in my body when I go back in the bullpen. I'm not myself. Right? I'm not myself. You know, I'll be the first. I'm not myself because I'm not believing this is happening. This can't be happening. You know, at that time I wasn't conscious like I am today. I don't know about injustice. I don't know about racism. I don't know how the system sucks blacks up and Hispanics up. Although that's all I'm seeing is side rankings out of the time. I'm not connecting the connection with the dots, right? And I come back to court. Now, in between me going back to court and get sentenced, I'm wrestling in my cell saying, oh, I know this guy can't give me 25 to life. He let me go. He see me in the streets. You know, that's all the things I'm saying. I go to sentence. He sentenced me to the max. I learned later on it's designed like that to put me in prison, to keep me there for long as I can. He was in a position to do it, so he did it to me. Sending me to my life. I'm fighting as hard as I can. My brother is looking out for me with a lawyer. We invest in money. No break. Just one single witness. No matter what I put in, no other evidence, no gun, no statement, no nothing. It's one single unreliable witness, right? Didn't get a break. I get frustrated at times. I don't do nothing. You know, I feel like I'm putting too much pressure on my brother. Yo, bro, could you give me money to do this? You know, for a lawyer. You know, I'm feeling. You know, but he's always there for me. And I wound up doing 27 years.
Wow.
Wound up doing 27 years. But what I could say is this: right? That it took me some time, like 17 years before that iHeart moment went off in my life, where I hit rock bottom and I said, Renny, you need some help. You can't go no further than this. And that's when I reached out to God. And I just asked God to help me, right now in this time, in this moment, help me. You know what I'm saying? And God just helped me to start, sending me on the path to change my life, and that's what happened. I just started engaging in all type of self-help programs because I wanted to leave prison in a better condition than when I came in.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's what I started doing. And fortunately for me, I was glad that it did. Because look, 17 years is a long time. I'm running around and I'm engaging in the same nonsense I was doing in the streets. I'm dead minded. Let's just say I did get a break in between them 17 years. I came out here and been a destruction to my community.
I got you.
I'll be the first one to tell you that.
Okay.
So when I look back, God saved me for a reason.
Okay.
How old were you?
When I got arrested?
Yeah.
Well, I got arrested in 1985. I was 24 years old when I was arrested. Yeah, I was 24 years old in 1985.
Oh, we in the same age bracket, yo.
Yeah.
Damn.
I was born. What year you was born?
63.
I'm one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
me
you say
too.
back, right?
Me too.
Yeah, I was 24 years old when I was arrested. It was terrible for me.
Man. I can imagine. I'm sitting here listening to you and I'm getting angry. And when I hear these stories, I get angry.
Yeah.
How do you manage that? Like I know you was angry.
Yeah.
How do you manage?
I like to say that when I went through the bars, through the gates that led to the door to my freedom, I knew that if I left prison bitter, I would still be in prison.
But I feel you.
I would still be in prison. So self-help programs did wonders for me. You know what I'm saying? And, that's why I take pride and, and passion in doing the work I do today. People say, yo, Renny, man, why you do this, right? You don't have to do this. You don't have to be here. You're home now, right? I know that I was those voiceless people that I left behind wall.
Got you.
Like with Robert Brooks incident, right?
Right.
I remember when Derek Hamilton called me and sent me the text of the video.
Okay, so Robert Brooks, let's say that was the brother that was on the news where
Robert Brooks,
the correction officers
that was
beating
killed,
up.
was beaten to death in Marcy Correctional Facility on December 9th. He's brutally beaten to death, right? And he sent me the videotape. He said, Renny, look at this, and he hung up. Now I looked at the video. I see Marcy on the wall. I see Robert Brooks in the greens, and I see them beating him up, right? But it not registered me that this is in New York. I know this ain't in New York, right? I'm thinking about when I was in prison.
Right.
So I call him back and I say, Derek, is this in New York State? He said, yeah, Renny, you don't see the guy in the greens. You don't see Marcy. I said, oh, job is coming to him. I said, wow. He said, Renny, we got to do something. And I said, let's do it. The next day, we got on our phones, him and I, and we went through our phone log, every formerly incarcerated person we knew, males and females. We said, we holding a town hall meeting behind this issue. I developed the text. I said, this is our George Floyd movement.
Right.
And we're going to change the Department of Corrections. I said, there's too many of us out here. We had a town hall meeting. About 1,000 brothers and sisters was there. And Derek and I told them what we need to be doing to change this. And everybody said they're going to get behind us. The first thing we did, we went to Albany, busloads of us, demanding justice for Robert Brooks.
Okay.
Next thing we did, we went to the governor's office demanding justice. They knew we was coming. They called us up. Her staff called us up to our office.
Oh, Governor
Hogachaw called us
Okay.
upstairs to their office. Me, Derek, Reverend McCall, and some clergy called us up to the office. And we outlined, we said, listen, we said a majority of the prison staff goes on the 3 to 11 shifts. Why? Because there's no executive staff there. We want that to change. That's the shift that Robert Brooks got killed on, the 3 to 11 shift.
Okay.
We said the OSI, which is the Office of Special Investigator, is majority former prison guards. That's why these claims go unaddressed, go ignored when incarcerated people complain about abuse. because they're not going to investigate themselves.
Right.
We said we want that to change. We want formerly incarcerated people to be a part of OSI, right? We told them, right, that we want also, we told them that we also want us to be involved in the decision making that be going on. We told her also that the New York State Attorney General no longer be allowed to represent prison guards who are accused of assaulting incarcerated people. Why, Renny? Because in Robert Brooks' case, right, she had to excuse herself because her office was representing 4 of the prison guards who was accused of assaulting other incarcerated people, and that's the same thing that happened in Messiah Newton. She couldn't prosecute.
And that's the young brother
Right.
from the Bronx
in Mid-State, right?
Okay,
22 years old. He got killed 87 days after Robert Brooks, 9 days after the prison guard was indicted for killing Robert Brooks. We told him we want that to stop because they're not identifying. All they're doing is just taking on. When you file a lawsuit, they just represent them because they're part of the state. We went there with a number of other demands, and we told the governor's staff, if these demands are not met by January 31st, we are shutting New York State down, right? That's when they start moving fast. You know, the governor started making statements about what they did with Robert Brooks was wrong and all that, but that wasn't enough for us.
Right. Because I remember her making those statements.
Right? That's not true justice.
Right.
And lo and behold, we had a chance to meet with the DA who prosecuted the case.
Mm-hmm.
And we met with him and talked to him. He told us that, that's what I told him about. We all use our situations when we was arrested for murder in second degree. He said, so we told him about it. He indicts these guys. Like, we were sitting in a courtroom. Me, Derek, Kevin McCall, and 2 sisters. They was bringing them out one at a time. They brought the first guy out. The judge asked him his name, how old he is. The DA took over, said, what's the charge? He said, murder in second degree. I clapped. The court officer told me, don't be quiet. You know why I clapped? Because I heard murder in the second degree. First thing came to my mind is he's going to get no bail or either high bail. Why, Renny? Because when I was arrested for murder in the second degree, I didn't get no bail, right?
Mm-hmm. So
now the DA just yelled out that he wants the guy to get $50,000 on bail. I yells out, $50,000, right? Court officer, didn't I tell you to be quiet? I act like I ain't even hearing that court officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the next thing I know, when they set the bail, the judge determined the bail was going to be $250,000. He got paid 10%, right? Which is $25,000. The judge yells out, is there a bail bondman in the courtroom? Bail bondman sitting right over in the corner. He gets up, the paper already filled out. He said, yeah, Your Honor, my bail bond right here. The judge asked the prison guard, do you agree to this? He nodded his head, said, yes. He signs it. He out the courtroom, right? Pre-planned. It went on like that. 5 of them got murder in second degree. I couldn't take it no more. Derek is trying to contain me. When you got to be cool, man. You got to calm down. I said, man, F this, man. This is injustice. You know what I'm saying? They just letting these guys out. These guys ain't spent 1 day in jail for brutally beating Robert Brooks. You know what I'm saying? This is injustice what they're doing, So I just wound up getting up, leaving out the courtroom. I go outside the hall room. I just start going off. People just start gathering around me. All that. It was hurtful for me to stand there and see that going on and I not say something. I had to say something, right? And, just to speed this thing up. Derek, me, and some other people, we was arrested for this Robert Brooks movement. We was arrested for protesting for a petty crime. 6 police officers gathered around me, jumped on me and all that, put handcuffs on me, right? They paraded me up the escalators, out into the streets for the world to see all of us as criminals and put us in a police car. Here it is, them prison guards who was on videotape for beating Robert Brooks to death, wasn't even arrested then. This is America, and this is what happened to blacks in America. They're conditioned. The criminal legal system is set up and designed to see blacks and Hispanics as criminals. They're not used to seeing us as victims. That's why they drag their feet on Robert Brooks' case. Because had me and you and us would have beat a correction officer to death like that, they wouldn't have said they're waiting for no autopsy report to charge us with murder.
No
right?
bail.
Yeah. We would have been in jail with no bail for murder.
Right.
That's the injustice. And that's what we fight against. That's what we stand against. That's what we speak against. Same thing with Messiah Newtwin. We went out there to Harlem, and I said Messiah Newtwin sentence should not have turned into a death sentence. Regardless what he's in prison for, he wasn't sentenced to death. And they took his life. And this is what goes on. If the videotape in Robert Brooks was not shown, made available to the public, when his family filed a lawsuit, Letitia James, the New York State Attorney General's office, would have represented the correction officers who were accused of this crime, right? Like they normally doing. We've been reaching over the walls when I was in prison, complaining about these type of bruises. I know what it is to be taken out of the yard, taken out of your cell, taken out of the mess hall, put in handcuffs, taken to some isolated area where you ain't around but nothing but white male correction prison guards, and they tell you we'll kill you we'll do this, or they try to brutalize you, and the only thing you could do is spit, the only thing you could do is talk. You know what I'm saying? To show them that you're not afraid of them, right? Many of us know what that's like when we see that with Robert. This goes on daily.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody asked, what about the correctional officer strike that came right after that?
We believe that was a distraction because it came in between the officers getting indicted, if you remember the exact date, right? Because they was complaining about the Hall Act and them being worked over, right? They were doing too much hours, right? They was doing all this before these incidents happened, right? All that was a distraction away from what was going on with the correction officers being indicted. So they try to take the lead on these issues and put the light all on the strike, right? But it was a bunch of BS. 7 people died during the strike. One of them was Messiah Newtwin. People died from health problems. They was denied their medication, denied their mental services, denied food. We got countless complaints, right? And we're looking for lawyers to represent everybody that was in New York State prisons at that time, to represent them in lawsuit right now. We get people calling us all the time. But the strike was nothing merely but a distraction for what was really going on. That's what we believe.
Okay.
It was.
You cool with that, Jessica?
Okay. Shout out to Keisha Sky. Shout out to Tisha Ate a lot. You know, thank y'all for tuning in. All right. All right. So if somebody needs your help and needs your organization's help, how would they reach you all?
Well, our address is at 277 Clarkson Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11205, right on the letter in the basement, so the mailman could know to put the mail down there, because that's a new address we just got. Or they could call me at 347-388-7974. If I don't answer, you can send me a text, let me know, I'm calling in reference to some type of assistance. Any way that we could assist people, because we're operating from lived experience. We have experience in a lot of areas.
I was going to ask you how you get in touch with these people. They have to get in touch with you, or you like go around the court?
What people are we talking about?
The people that's being incarcerated or that need help while they're incarcerated.
They gotta either write our office or either call me or Derek. That's why I was going to give you Derek's number also. His number is 646-371-7409. 646-371-7409. His name is Derek Hamilton. And my number is 347-388-7974. And we're here to help. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we both made committed efforts when we was in prison that, when we leave prison, we're going to go out there and empower and uplift our community. And the work we're doing today speaks volumes to that.
Okay.
Our phones stay ringing for all kind of incidents of people needing some type of help. So that's what we're doing today.
Okay. So what would you tell, like, because you said earlier, even people that they were not wrongfully convicted, like y'all help them get out as well, right? Like if they served a long time.
Yeah.
So what would you tell a young person now that might be on the wrong path, to prevent them from going through that, from doing things that could lead them to being incarcerated?
Well, that's a very interesting question. And we're going to set up a initiative in our organization where we want to get in front of the 8 ball. What do you mean by that, Renny? we want to start going inside the schools and talking to some of these youth to break that prison, that school of pipeline cycle, right? So we want to start speaking to some of these about consequences and effects of crimes, right? And show them what they look like, right? And we want to give some examples through our lived experience, right? Like I tell my grandson who's 14 years old, I said, Malik, you don't have to touch that stove. Why? Because I touched it and it burnt me. I'm telling you it's hot. Right? So we teach them about consequences, right? Now here's an example that I like to get, the effects of crimes, right? Let's just say I robbed a man for $300, right? Now that $300 could have went to pay for his daughter a birthday cake, pay a bill in the house, or something, right? Let's just say in the process of me taking the money from him, I break his jaw. That man is the breadwinner of that family, right? He can't go to work tomorrow. The whole family suffers because of my selfish, reckless, and destructive behavior, right?
Right.
Okay. Let's deal with society now. Society, you know what they're going to say? The corner that I robbed that man and beat that man, they're going to say, I'm not walking down that corner. You ain't hear about that man got robbed and beat up? Why, Renny? Because they think I'm still down there robbing and beating people up. That's society that's affected by this crime now, right?
Right.
What happens when I get arrested? My family, when they come out the house, they're going to walk with their head held down in shame and embarrassed solely because they connected to me. That's the effects of crime. A lot of people don't know that. They don't identify that when you commit these crimes, right? So I explain that to some of these young guys. I used to go to Rangers Island, and it'd be 60 guys or 50 guys in the dorm, and I walk through the dorm, and I say, come on, little brothers, wake up, man. I came all the way up here to see y'all brothers. Get up, right? I would get everybody up, but maybe two who got to go to sick call. And I get them in there in a big room, and I said, listen, let me tell you, brother, something, man. For most of my life, I came across that bridge in shackles and handcuffs. I said, today I came across driving my car. I feel good about that. I said, I was sitting in them same chairs you young brothers are sitting in, but nobody came to talk to me. I'm coming here to talk to you, brother. I said, by a show of hands, how many of you brothers in here have high school, diploma, GED? Maybe 1, 2 per. I said, do you know statistics states that most people who are in jail and prison don't have no education? That's why you brothers are sitting here right now. And I was sitting here the same way. I said, by a show of hands, how many of you brothers in here are fathers? Every 4 or 5 raised their hands. I said, let me ask you something. How do you feel being in here and you're not there with your child right now? See, I get them to thinking.
Right.
We got to get these kids to thinking. I told them about the guns, how they shooting them guns, and why them guns in our community, right? Solely for us to hurt and harm and kill each other. That's it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what they're there for, right? Right. So I tell them about these things. I said, 2 families are destroyed. I said, when you shoot and kill somebody, your family is suffering, and the person who you killed is suffering. That's 2 families. You know what those, our enemies, do? They sit back and clap. One is going to the graveyard, and one is going to a cell for 25, 30 years. You see what I'm saying? I said, if I could reach, I hope I could reach all of y'all, but if I could reach just one of y'all, God be the glory. So we got to get in front of the 8 ball.
Right.
When I go to rally, like when we was doing the rallies for Robert Brooks, and then I went to a rally today with some Jew dudes, y'all might have seen on the news, kicked a disabled black guy in the wheelchair in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. So we went to a rally today, right?
Okay.
So, you know, they have people yelling, yo, we need a revolution. We need this, right? So I go to them on the side. I said, I'm not opposed to a revolution, but we are not ready for it. Why, Renny? I said, because in America, the black community are fighting 2 wars right now. One internal and one external. The internal war is with us hurting and killing each other. Until we do away with that, we could deal with that external war. That external war only exists because those who are doing this to us, they know we are not united as a people. That's why them police officers, them prison guards was able to beat Messiah Newton and Robert Brooks like that, and didn't care about no retaliation. That's why the police could put his neck on George Floyd and just sit on his neck until he died.
Yeah,
because they know in America we disunited. We're not united.
And now they even talking about releasing him.
Yeah.
They talking about trying to release
they
that
know
guy.
that. So we have to deal with that internal war that we've got, that we couldn't, that we're dealing with.
Which is
we hurting and killing each other at an alarming rate.
Right. That's the biggest. That's the biggest one.
Right.
The biggest.
Absolutely right.
The biggest one.
It's sad too.
Yeah.
I mean, we had lessons from the 60s and 50s, and it doesn't seem like we learned any damn thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we had Malcolm, we had Martin, we had all these people telling us. We didn't pay attention to it, man. I have other thoughts on that.
I learned about Malcolm and Martin when I was in prison. Well, most of us learn about individuals like that. You know, you don't embrace them in the streets. And definitely when you in the streets, you live in a destructive lifestyle. Like prior to me coming to prison, I was gay in a reckless lifestyle. I'll be the first to tell you, you know what I'm saying, that I was part of destroying my community when I was out there selling drugs. I don't know how many families, how many babies went to bed at night because I took their mother money by giving them some drugs. I'll be the first. So we don't learn about these individuals outside of Shakur, these freedom fighters, until we go inside of prison.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't learn about it until we behind walls. See, I didn't come to, although I went to prison for something I didn't do, prison made me a political prisoner based upon what was done to me. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what it do to so many of us. We become conscious behind prison. And then we come out here and we try to do something. We don't try, but we do things to like I said, to empower and uplift our community.
Right.
Prison. Look at Mandela. Look at Martin. Look at Malcolm X. All of them have some type of confinement in their life. Right? God needs to sit you down sometime to get your attention. For me, unfortunately, it took me 27 years. But he set me down. But I'm a better person today.
And earlier when you were saying when I think you asked him if he knew law.
Yeah.
Right.
He had to.
Right. So did you learn law while incarcerated?
Yeah, I learned law. I have a paralegal degree. Yeah, I had to. I had 25 years of life and I wanted to get out, so I had to learn law. But it takes some time to learn and understand. The only one I know that was blessed and able to really comprehend and get a grip on this law is Derek Bush Hamilton.
Okay.
God bless him tremendously with this.
Okay.
With the law.
All right.
I'm still learning a lot from him right now today. A lot of stuff that you hear me speaking about is from me learning from him.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a genius when it comes to this.
Okay.
That's all right. We can learn from anything, yo.
He's a genius when it comes to this.
You know?
So big ups to Derek Hamilton.
Okay, big up Derek Hamilton. Shout out Derek Hamilton. All right. And because you've been through a lot and you saw a lot. So for anybody that's watching or anybody that's going to see this, if you could give words of encouragement to anybody out there right now, what would the words
I would
be?
say, like I tell my grandkids, man, to stay the course, listen to your parents, because they know what's right for you. Get involved with education, man, because the more educated you are, the more valuable and successful you're going to become in society. I tell my grandkids today, I would give anything to be 14, 15 years old, but that's wishful thinking, right? So I try to instill that in them. Education is key, but the proper education.
Right.
And don't be no follower. It's hard. I know a lot of times in our community, culture is a lot of things that have to do with this violence in our neighborhood. It's culture. Ain't about no money. It is culture. One youth follow another youth. They don't want to be sucked up by the youth, so they get involved with. So it's a culture thing, right? So try not to get involved and be engaged. Because I don't want you to end up in a prison yard with a life sentence saying, how did I get here? Because they're waiting for you. So stay the course and stay in school, right? And get educated. There's a lot of opportunities that's available to our youth today, but they have to know where to go and seek it and find it. You know what I'm saying? And we can help and steer them in the right direction. You brothers can help. We all here. Sisters can help. You know what I'm saying? Right. We're here because we're concerned about it because our youth is our tomorrow.
Right. So
if we don't have our youth, then we don't have no tomorrow.
So we do like you know, like me, like we did a basketball program
All right.
from back in like the 90s, and my son, you know, he continue it now. So we, how you said earlier, try to get the kids on the front end. All right. And you're not gonna reach every kid.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna reach every kid. I remember when my son, he was kind of sad because a kid that he spent a lot of time with, shout out to Javon, a kid he spent a lot of time with ended up going to jail for a long period of time for hurting somebody. I'm not sure if he killed the person, but you know, and this was a person that he spent a lot of time with, trying to show the person the right path.
Right.
So the more people trying to show the people the right path. I mean, you know, when I was like coaching kids and everything, you know, I coached any kid. I didn't care. I didn't even care if you could play that good. You know, I coached any kid, spending time with them. And I was realizing that some of these kids, they was able to steal cars, everything. So the amount of things that a young person could do at that 13, 14, 15, if they're in that type of environment, like for myself, I was out of the environment a lot because I was involved in sports. So that's what we was looking at. Sure, you get them in sports, then they not going to be thinking about that. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I know kids that were two family households, but they still want to be a Crip. You know what I mean? So you know, you keep doing the work you're doing. Thank you for coming on. You know, I just met this brother. I talked to him on the phone, but this is just meeting. Shout out to Ramel, Freedom Foundation. All right. Think about doing a movie or something on you know your life experience. You know, Ramel, that's something you can help with, right? That's something you can help with, bro. I'm gonna have to holler at you.
My daughter always tell me, my oldest daughter, Elise, she always tell me, Dad, there's so much to you. You should do a book.
A book, yeah.
Then she said, Dad, you and I both could do a book together, right?
Right.
She gave me some points about how she was affected, you know, with me not being a part of her life.
Right.
All that, you know. Even when I was in prison, I had started writing a book and everything. But brother, you know, I would love to do that, but there's so much that I have to do.
That you're doing.
Yeah,
that you're doing.
When the prison guards were indicted for killing Robert Brooks, I said I'm gonna take a pause and go back to wrongful convictions, get more involved. Next thing I know, they killed Messiah Newton.
Right.
So I gotta get involved. It's always something, like the day they called Derek and I to come to the press conference they had with a Jew dude. So it's always something. I welcome these because, like I said, I want to do things in my community. I want to leave a legacy behind when I go that's worthy to follow. I want to say this is what Renny looked like yesterday, but this was who Renny was today.
Yeah, and you can write that book later.
Yeah,
right.
When you finish.
Yeah,
and with AI, they write books in an hour. You know that, right?
I didn't know that.
AI write books in an hour.
You know, but thank you for coming.
Thank you all for having me, brother.
You know, I really appreciate it. Like I said in the beginning, we're doing something different today. And I also said that you're gonna get a lot of information, and we did. You got a lot of information. You know, you're hearing, you know, the behind the scenes of a lot of things that are going on that you be seeing on the news. And
you know, I want to point out too, man, you know, we've been talking and not one man called or text in, man. This is all women about this. Not one man.
Those are the ones who are mainly, I ain't gonna say mainly, but a lot of women, they have these experiences, you know, with they
have
loved ones
sons.
in prison. Yeah, sons.
And you don't want, or you have a son and you don't want your son, right?
Yeah.
You don't want your son going that route, right. You know? But like I said, man, thanks again. Thanks again for coming. You know, we're gonna have to bring you back, you know, to share further, you know,
to promote
about the
your
things.
thing. Cause I know a lot of brothers need that, man.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
And then and my son, he do like a mentoring program. I'm gonna try to link y'all together. Maybe you could come talk to some of those kids.
Yeah, I'm open to
it.
I'm open to it.
Okay.
Anything I could do to help, or anything on behalf of my organization that I could do to help, you know, if I'm available, I'm there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
And you know, like you had sent me something like about a petition but it was like something that I couldn't open. But you know,
I
send
rescind
it
it.
out.
Yeah, I want to rescind it because we want people to sign on. Those are the demands that we send it to the governor, asking that there be changes. We don't want to reform docs. We want to change docs.
Okay.
Reforming is only putting a band-aid on it.
Okay.
We see that from the Attica Rebellion in 1971. There's a lot of reforms being done, right? But nothing. They just took off, and now we done got even worse than what it is. We want to change it from top to bottom.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? Systemically, you know what I'm saying? It's affected.
Right.
They're doing a lot of things that's causing, like earlier, prison guards are accused for assaulting incarcerated people. They're allowed to go right back to their post.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So we want that to stop. You know what I'm saying? We
Right.
want, all of the, we want to change it. It's a lot of, you'll see all the demands we got in there.
Okay.
That we came up with and felt that this is needed.
Okay.
We when we look at the prison guards that did that, we really don't know what accountability look like. Like they've been arrested. I mean, they've been indicted, right?
Right.
Some of the Robert Brooke prison guards, right? They just was offered a secret plea. Right. They don't do that with us.
Right.
Right. So we can only go as far with these campaigns as the family want us to. Right. Got you.
Okay.
Get it.
Wanna thank y'all for tuning in. Love y'all, tune in again. Like Steels be saying, tell a friend to tell a friend to tune in to the Legend Edition.
I'm singing for playing most supreme right here. 6 feet still can beat the whole damn dream team. With power, I devour any man in my way. Crown Prince of all things.
Take the plea, I guess, and if not, then they go on the trial.
They might have put that. They need to put that in public.
Yeah.
What they did.
I mean, that's how they do with them. And we got to understand, brother, that we in America, right?